I really want to talk about something which I believe for so long while working in corporate in India. Whenever I see a woman being judged for being too ambitious or being overlooked for a promotion she really deserved or not being recognized as a leader, even having all the required skills, I thought it was a problem coming from patriarchy, which was deeply rooted in Indian society, and it will take some time to get resolved. But when I came out of India, it followed me here as well. And it's very difficult to admit that maybe it is not as loud as it was back there. It is subtle, it is quiet, but that makes it even more difficult to identify it, to point that out. Sometimes you will feel that it's all in your head and maybe the problem is you. But recently I have read this amazing two books which I feel like every woman in leadership position or aspiring to be a leader or do better in corporate roles should definitely read it once in their life. These books are Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg and Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office by Dr. Louis Frankel. And this book literally helped me to finally make sense of all these things. And I'm not going to review these books one by one, but I'm going to share what I actually took away from these books and the things which I wished someone had told me before I walked into my first corporate office. The first thing I want you to know is that whenever you have felt at work that subtle sense that same behavior lands differently depending on who is doing it and you are not imagining it. There is a study in the book Lean In, which I cannot stop thinking about. That is, two professors took a real case study of a very successful entrepreneur named Heidi Roizen, and they split their students into two groups. One group read about Heidi, and the other group read about the same story, the same achievements, and the same decisions, but the name was changed to Howard. And both group agreed that the person was quite competent, but surprisingly, Howard was more likable and inspiring, and some people really wanted to work for Howard. But Heidi, she was found selfish for some reason, and people were not very likely to join her team or consider her in their own team. It was the exact same data, just the difference was in the name and actually in the gender. And there is this line which stayed with me, which is if a man is successful, they are liked by women and men equally. But when a woman is successful, they are liked less by both men and women. And I remember sitting with it for a moment because this wasn't conducted in India. This was Columbia University and this was New York. And I have now worked in London and I can confirm you that dynamic is here as well. So if you have been called out too much, too intense, too ambitious, understand that the problem is not in you. That's documented, researched, and global phenomena. And understanding it will stop internalizing it. The next thing is the battle which we don't talk about enough. And this is what really got me is like both of these books say the same uncomfortable truth. Yes, the system is biased, but it is us who makes it even more harder for ourselves. And I say this with so much compassion because I was doing it. So in the book Lean In, Cheryl was describing this meeting situation in Facebook where she invited 15 executives in the room. The men came in, took the food, occupied the central table, and the women took the food later and hid themselves up in the corner spaces, noticing that Cheryl even invited women to join them in the central table, but they declined or shy away from that invitation. And when I read that, I physically recognized it as my own pattern, not because I belonged there, but because somewhere I have absorbed that idea that I have to wait to be invited and not assume that central space is for me, that I belong in every room I am there. I made myself little smaller so that people don't think I'm too much. And the book Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office has explained why this happened because most of us were raised to be that nice girl, to avoid conflict, to avoid dissatisfaction, and to be agreeable and helpful every time. And those aren't bad qualities. But in a workplace which rewards visibility and advocacy, those quality works against you. And it was very uncomfortable to read about the way women talks about their work, the way women handle the salary conversations and underestimating themselves in performance reviews. And it has shown up in research that women undervalue their abilities. They rate their performance worse than what it is. And men, on the other hand, mostly tend to rate theirs better than what it is. When something goes well, we mostly say it was the timing, the support, the team. But when it comes to men, they say, I really did it. I grew up in a culture where humility was a virtue, being nice girl was the goal. And coming into the corporate with that wiring has costed me a lot. Next, I'll talk about the ambition which we were taught to hide. And here's the another survey where McKinsey surveyed 4,000 employees of top performing companies, and 36% of men wanted to reach the executive position, whereas only 18% of women really wanted to be at the executive position. It was just half. And I don't think that this was because women does not wanted to be a leader or does not wanted it at the first place, but it was because we were made to think that wanting that openly is wrong. And the problem is not coming just from the corporate setup, it is coming from the childhood. There is a research showing kids when they were asked about what they want to become when they grow up. Boys say president, CEO, astronaut, etc. But girls aimed smaller. And it was not because they were less capable, but it was because the ambitions in girls were being treated differently from very early on. Whenever men mentioned such thing, they were celebrated for it, but it was not that strong of a support whenever it came to women. And not just blame everyone for what it is. We should just look why that is happening. It lies under the desire to be liked by everyone, to avoid conflict at any cost. And it make you take the work that isn't yours. It keeps you small, pleasant, but overlooked. Being liked and being respected are not the same thing. And if you are spending energy on one of them at the cost of other, please make sure that it is not the respect that is being traded away. So what I actually do differently, I didn't wanted to make this video for you to just nod along and forget it later. I wanted you to understand and take some tips so that you can make the situation little better. So first of all, you have to own your wins out loud. So whenever someone congratulate on your success, don't delegate it over the teams always. Keep something for you. Just say thank you. I really worked hard for it. And that's it. The second is change how you talk about your work. Whenever someone asks you what you do, most of us shrink and give a very vague answer to that question. Try focusing on this instead. What problem do you solve? What tools and knowledge do you use to solve it? And what results you create? And that's just clarity, which will be read as confidence. Another important thing which I took out from those books is take up space. Sit at the table, the central, the main one. Do not hide in the corners. Speak at a volume that do not invite people to talk over to you. Remember, your body communicates before you even say a single word. Another good advice is keep a record of your achievements. Keep a record of whatever you have done. I keep a running note, a simple talk of things which I have achieved, the problem which I have solved, the feedbacks I have received. It helps at 2 a.m. when your imposter syndrome is loud. It helps to build a relationship with your own competence that doesn't need anyone to validate it. And that is most important thing. And here is something I want to leave with you, and honestly what I would tell to my younger self if I could. The challenges you face in work is not a you problem. These things are documented, well researched, and happen globally. Just wearing different colors, different flavors, but these are the exact things. And that I can confirm from my personal experience and not just the books or researches. But knowing that matters. So once you see that as system fault, you stop internalizing it as your own fault. You stop shrinking, you stop hiding, you stop fixing things which was not broken in you. And here's the one thing I want you to remember at the end of this video, the one thing you should take away from this video if you forget everything else, that is, you are allowed to take space. You are allowed to take space before you feel you are ready for it. Because people who got ahead were not the people who were hiding. They were the people who took the central space even when it was uncomfortable. If this resonated even a bit for you, send it to someone who is still starting younger at a corporate role, who would appreciate hearing it from someone who has experienced it and not completely figuring out by themselves the harder way. And tell me in the comments what will be the one thing you will be doing differently after this video, and I'll read every comment of yours. Thank you for watching. Bye.